media, potential synergies, pitfalls of marketing myopia, and a case study discussion. Now, let me give you a few reminders before we start. Our Zoom is in a meeting platform, so you can share your thoughts and post questions in the chat box. This session is recorded. Keep your microphones on mute when not speaking. Please fill up the attendance sheet through the link. We have a short question and answer portion after the presentation. So if you have questions, just drop them in the chat box of Zoom, or you may unmute your microphone and say your question. We expect the participants to observe proper decorum during this online training. Participants who will misbehave will be disconnected in the platform. We will email to you the e-certificates of participation for the ones who will complete this training and will answer the client feedback form. At the end of this session, we will flash the link and QR code for the online client satisfaction feedback form. And we will also type in the chat box. There will be a raffle draw after the end of the afternoon session. At sa pag-fill up ninyo ng client satisfaction feedback form, you will have a chance to be included in the raffle draw this afternoon at around 12:30 to 1 p.m. At magkakaroon kayo ng chance na manalo ng isang magandang National Food Fair commemorative apron para sa isang set ng raffle draw. At sa pangalawang set ng raffle draw, may chance kayong manalo ng commemorative apron na may kasamang masasarap na produkto mula sa participating virtual booths. At pangatlo, maaari kayong manalo ng Mamacita products. Okay, now para sa attendance, kindly fill up the attendance sheet by clicking on the link which you will type in the chat box. We will also show them on your screens for comparison of the link. All right, it's there. Okay, so paki-fill up lang po yan para may chance kayong manalo rin mamaya sa ating raffle draw. Okay, and now it's time to introduce our speaker. Ms. Renea Cruz-Tan is an advocate of micro and small enterprise development as crucial towards achieving poverty reduction, generation of jobs and livelihood, and sustainable economic growth. She is the regional consultant of ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network Project. Let us all welcome Ms. Renea Cruz-Tan. Good morning, Ms. Renea.
Good morning, Carrie. I'm very happy to be here. You know, like we are going through very challenging times, and we as mentors, we are entrepreneurs, we are consultants, we all have to do what we can to help each other. So I'm thankful that we have participants from other parts of the country. I see some regions cited in the participants list. And that is very good because our topic this morning is about how to follow up leads generated by your participation in trade fairs. And now, as Ms. Carrie was saying, hindi na yung parang trade fair of long time ago, yung traditional trade fair na talagang may mga booths to be set up and you have to travel to the venues of the trade fairs. And then you have to meet in person your interested customers and would-be partners. Now, as Carrie was saying, it's hybrid na. So, if possible, pwede pa rin yung face-to-face activities, but there will have to be the online proponent na. And I tell you that there will always be the online proponent na. Digitalization is the new normal. So allow me to start sharing my screen. So itong topic natin today, post-trade fairs, following up the business leads. So the trade fair itself, it's a very important part of marketing and promotion, right? Hindi natin pwedeng mamit lang on our day-to-day businesses ang ating mga prospective clients. It will grow, yes, dahil especially now we are in the internet age, more and more people will be getting to know your products and will get to try it. because marketing now is much easier thanks to the internet, thanks to the benefits brought in by digitalization. But still, hindi mawawala the fact that trade fairs are very important. It's a way to meet new markets, new customers. But then nag-change nga lang yung face or mode of doing trade fairs. But nonetheless, yung trade fair mismo is very important. Diba? Companies prepare and months organizing their teams to prepare for trade fairs. Yung design ng booth, yung travel plans to the venues of the trade fairs, yung ano mismong mga items ang dadalhin, critical yun. Very, very important decisions yun. Ano yung magiging saleable? What will they do during trade fairs? Will they just be displaying their products, or will they be both displaying their products and also selling their products? Part yun sa mga pinagpaplanuhan. So very important yung trade fair activities mismo. 1-day trade fair ba siya, 2-day trade fair, or even as long as 5 days minsan ang allotted for trade fairs. Pero pag natapos na yung trade fairs and you're back to your stores, you're back to your businesses, you're back to your offices, the more important questions now have to be tackled. Number one question is, what have I gained by taking part in the trade fair? How do I capitalize yung mga na-achieve ko, yung mga people na na-meet ko? How do I leverage yung exposure na na-achieve ng aking store through the trade fair? Whether online ba yung trade fair or traditional yung trade fair. These are the questions that you now have to deal with. And I tell you, ito yung sabi nga nila, mas importante yung trade fair mismo. Pero some would argue na mas importante ang post-trade fair. Kasi dito mo talaga makikita. Dito yung reckoning, di ba? Yung the reckoning. In this part, you will get to see if worth ba yung investment that you have placed in your participation in the trade fair. Dito, you will get to see if feasible nga ba yung naging plan mo to attend the trade fair. Like some entrepreneurs go to as far as Germany, to Korea, Australia, to bring their products to the Middle East, to bring their products to their targeted markets. And of course, you have to account for all the costs incurred by attending the trade fairs. So then comes the post-trade fair, post-trade fair post, which is the reckoning part. Sulit ba? Nabawi ko ba yung investment ko? So ito yung mga pag-iisipan mo next when you get back to your normal businesses na. So business as usual na after the trade fair. So during the trade fair, normally you get to gather as much information as you can. Diba? You talk to people visiting your booth. This is true whether traditional trade fair, online trade fair, or yung hybrid trade fair. You get to meet people visiting your booths, chatting with you if online yung trade fair, or talking face-to-face with you kung traditional trade fair. In the course of that, you get to listen to your customers. Sino yung mga nagbibisita ng booth mo? Are they customers or are they businesses? Then you will get to realize then, sino yung parang magiging maganda mong next direction as a way of growing your business? If you are currently just sticking to business to customers na mode of doing business, and some of those that visited your booths happen to be businesses as well, like you, entrepreneurs as well. So you might think it is a good time already to consider also catering, also supplying to the needs of other businesses. So now is the time you categorize your needs. Among them, marami yan. Traditional trade fair, ang daming mag-iiwan ng calling cards, or yung iba hindi mag-iwan ng calling cards, but you got their numbers, or you trained your people to always get the names and numbers of all the visitors in your booths. Or sa online ngayon, you got their email addresses. Now is the time na you categorize them. Saan yung talagang relevant na leads? And then saan yung maybe interested lang for information, but not really keen on really becoming your customer. And saan yung talagang interested lang for information's sake? May mga ganon, maraming ganon actually. They just want to learn about your company, but they don't really have the immediate intention to buy your products or to avail of your services. So now you evaluate the leads generated during the trade fair, the 1-day trade fair, 2-day, 3-day trade fair. And then you have to prioritize them because time is a very essential resource. You cannot like really spend like 1 day each on all of the business leads generated during a trade fair. You have to categorize them and make priorities. Saan yung ikaw mismong mag-asikaso? Saan yung pwede mong i-delegate lang sa staff? But it is very important to get back to all of them. So, but first, you categorize them. And then you consider also yung iba, like especially now that trade fairs can be done online. There's the very high possibility that you will get a lot of visitors sa yung online booth who are not really from the Philippines. So yun, wow, meron ka ng prospect for export markets. But then you also have to study ano yung mga standards in place in their market. Is it even possible for my products to get to their markets? For example, you're into selling honey. Oh, and then meron isang lead na nag-express ng interest in your business and he happens to be from the Middle East. Then you know that you first have to comply with halal rules before you can even consider this business lead as a customer. The point is you have to be realistic because not all the business leads that you will be able to get during the trade fair will turn out to be actual sales. So now is the time you gather information on the leads you got, the contact, the information details. You gather information on their companies. You gather information on them. Thankfully, diba? Even any name you can Google these days. And kahit sa Facebook profile pa lang of anybody, you can already get a lot of information. Like you get to see by just looking at the Facebook profile, if may chance nga ba na serious buyer ito, or was he or she just like after some information, or was he or she just trying to be friendly? Some people do that, like especially during the traditional trade fairs, diba? Na like some people just try to go around, feel the place, feel the products, and then try to be nice to all the exhibitors without really having concrete plans to be a customer in any one of them. But then do not be sort of close-minded also, because some people may start out as not so interested and then might end up as a real buyer, as a real customer. So through all that, you have to study. You have to study all the information that you got during the trade fair, whether online, traditional, or hybrid. Saan dito ang pag-aaksayan ko ng oras to follow up? Saan yung pwede kong ipasa na sa staff? Use the right channels ngayon when you follow up. So kung nasa Philippines lang, siguro pwedeng, like if within Metro Manila lang and you happen to be in Metro Manila, then maybe you can send an email and then request for an appointment. Depende. So there are different channels now. Consider the age also and the location. Kasi may mga customers na pwedeng pang chat lang. Like if millennial yun, pwede mong i-chat lang mga millennials. If medyo baby boomer kind, on phone calls. So you have to determine kung ano yung right channel for following up. Will you be using emails? Will you be using text messages lang? Or will it be enough to chat with them? Or will you have to like really request for appointments to visit their places? So depende din siya again on where those leads are, who they are, where they come from then in terms of culture, depende on what country they are from, if they happen to be non-Filipinos. That is very crucial. Like, we have a number of stories, actually, like some partnerships that came out of trade fairs involving would-be customers from other countries like Middle East and then Japan. They have some cultural beliefs and then they have some business practices that our businesses turned out to be not so aware of. Our respective trade fair participants were not so aware of. So I cannot name names, but there are like some business matching done between Filipino companies and then a Japanese company that would have meant a Japanese company buying the poultry products of 2 or 3 poultry companies. And then when the CEO of that Japanese company flew to Manila, they just sent their top executive to meet the Japanese guy in the airport. And then they were there, the CEOs of the company, waiting in a hotel here in Metro Manila. And then it turned out to have been a big mistake because for the Japanese, the rule is for you to meet the boss in the airport. The boss has to be the one meeting the boss. So that's how it is. So these are examples of details that you will have to be aware of. When you have open opportunities to have customers from other countries, you have to duly study your would-be customer, your prospective customer, so that you don't make mistakes. So that applies in this part of our presentation. How will I reach out to my leads, to these customers who gave their contact numbers, who expressed their interest on my products and services? How will I reach them? So walang hard and fast answer on how you reach them. Kasi nga, depende siya sa, maybe sa age, and then sa culture, and then yung type of business din. But the important thing is you reach out to all of them. So yung rule of thumb is within 2 days at least, you reach out to them. So pag sabi nila, pag after 2 days, malilimutan ka if you don't reach out. Or worse, you lose the opportunity to have them as customers. Like if you got a serious lead and they really have this need for your product and you just failed to do a follow-up call, follow-up email after the trade fair, after that day that you two met during the trade fair. And because of that, they lost interest or somebody else came along. So like that's on you. So within 2 days, that's the rule of thumb. You reach out to all of them. Depende, no hard and fast rule din on the way to reach out to them. Kasi yung iba, if you've had conversations already with them when they visited you in your site or while they were chatting with you during the online trade fair, then the follow-up would just be a continuation of the conversation you've had with them. Or if wala talagang conversation pang nangyari, like blank pa as to what specific product are they interested in, etc., then you have to start from the start, right? From the introductory part. So maybe you won't have to mention selling right away because you are yet on base 1. And base 1 is more on just introducing yourself, just introducing your company, your products. So, diba? No hard and fast rules. That is how it is when you deal with post-trade fair would-be customers. And if there were those that requested for more details, you promptly give them those additional details that they need on your product so they can make their decisions. And the recommended way to email them, if you go for emailing them, is to personalize your email. You know, nobody appreciates emails that are obviously just like sent to 100 people. Diba? Even you would, sometimes you read them, but sometimes you just ignore them because, you know, they're not really for you. Those emails are not really for you. They're like for everybody. So when you send your emails to your leads generated during trade fairs, be personal. Like, refer to your encounter with them, refer to your meeting with them, refer to your discussion with them, however brief it was. Refer to something. So like you're not really starting from nothing. And then you monitor these interactions with your leads. Actually, finance people would say, you put a budget on each lead. If like you reach a certain budget in terms of time, resources, and you're not getting anywhere, then it's the time to stop following up a lead. So you set your own parameters, you set your own budgets for like how much time are you gonna give each lead, how many emails are you gonna devote or send each lead, and then how much expenses are you willing to incur just to pursue a would-be client, a lead. So you decide on all that, and then you monitor the actual against the budgeted. That way you don't waste time, because after all, one trade fair is just one trade fair, and there will be many more trade fairs. And because we are in this internet age, actually, they say actually that it's like being in a trade fair every day, because now customers just pop in from out of the blue and send an email, send you a Facebook inquiry, send you an email inquiry, and this happen every day. These things now happen every day, even if you haven't been recently attending any trade fair. In the course of the trade fair also, you get to talk with your customers, and you get to also know what their questions are about your company. After the trade fair, when you're back at work, back in your factories, you're back in your offices, then would be the good time to update your online information. If you have company website, then it's a good time to update your company website. If you just have your Facebook account, your Instagram account, then maybe you can make additional posts to answer the questions that were asked during the trade fair. Questions asked about your company, questions by one customer can be the same question that many other customers would have wanted to ask you. So this way, you don't put to waste the many information that were generated by your participation in the trade fair. And I tell you, this information, this is very valuable. Diba? Companies pay hundreds of thousands for other companies, the survey companies, to generate surveys for them. What are these ba? These are just information. What do customers think of their products? How do customers want their products improved? These are normal questions of surveys, and companies spend hundreds of thousands for the results of these surveys. But when you get to attend trade fairs, you actually have your chance to do your own survey. So what are the questions that were asked in the course of your discussions with your customers or visitors to your booth? These are questions that you have to publish, whether through your website, your Facebook, and other online presence. So you boost your online presence. The internet has been called the equalizer, diba? Why? Kasi nga, what big companies can do with their websites are the same as what micro enterprises can do with their own websites, with their own Facebook. Diba? Yung sabi nilang, you make money in your sleep kasi even when you're sleeping, somebody is checking out your Facebook account, somebody is checking out the products in your Facebook store or in your website shop. So that's how it is. So at this point, we present internet as an equalizer. So in the post-trade fair days, you update your profile, your online profile, based on what you learned, based on the information generated by the trade fair. Ang akin palang, some of my customers pala, ito ang gusto. So yun yung what you put, diba? If some people want to learn about your story more, like if some customers now actually care about how you also contribute to environmental sustainability, that can happen. You publish in your Facebook page or in your website to address just that. And here I show you that big companies like Nestle and not so big companies like Yamang Bukid, they all do that. And we can all do that as entrepreneurs. We can have our own stories published in our website. And I tell you, these stories are actually answers to most of the questions that customers have in mind. Like, where do you get your raw materials? How do you process your products? Warranties, do you offer them? And then how do you send your customers their requested samples? How do you send your customers the replacements in case they're not happy with your costs, with your products? So answers to these questions you can put in your website. My next 3 slides show examples of how companies use their online presence to boost their images. So like Nestle, they post pictures of their corporate social activities, corporate social responsibilities activities. So they talk of, if you click these links, they talk of how they help coffee farmers by first providing the seedlings and the fertilizers, and then later buying the produce of coffee farmers that are under their guardianship, sort of, and how they train their employees to also contribute to environmental sustainability, and how they educate the Filipinos so they will appreciate more the value of nutrition, of good nutrition. So these things Nestle puts in their website. And look here, Yamang Bukid. I use Yamang Bukid as an example because I also like Yamang Bukid's story. It started as a small company making turmeric products, and now they're still that. But now they do not just use their own produce. They do not anymore have the capacity to produce the raw materials needed by their production. So now they also buy from other farmers, turmeric, ginger, etc., all the other raw materials that they need. And they talk about their story in their website. They talk about how they help farmers by buying the produce of the farmers at good prices. They talk of how they're able to increase local income of the poorer communities in the country. So in the same way, you do that. You base it on the feedback that you have generated during the trade fair. Ano pa yung gustong malaman ng mga tao? I might as well answer their questions through my website, through my Facebook page, through my Instagram. So your online presence, you boost it. And included there is the option also to encourage your customers to share your content. Ano ba tawag nito? Yung tawag nilang Facebook footprint, di ba? Are you visible na sa Facebook? Na-feel ba yung Facebook presence mo? Not just limited to Facebook. Yung website mo should also be like visited quite often if needed. Like companies pay a lot to have their websites like imprint, the online imprint, like really felt, really made visible. So that's how it is, because we now live in this age and there is no turning back. You know, nung Jack Ma was here in the Philippines and he was one of the speakers in an assembly of business administration students in De La Salle. So he said many things. He said story. He told many stories about his youth, his humble beginnings. But the one line that really struck me was this, and I share this all the time. He said, he likens the people today, the entrepreneurs of today, who do not use the internet, to the people from long ago who refused to use electricity even after it was already discovered. So see that coming from Jack Ma, one of the richest, a founder of Alibaba, etc. He's now one of the richest in China, and he started as an educator. He was a teacher, and look how far he's gone by tapping the internet. So trade fairs, don't think it has nothing to do with your online presence. It has everything to do with your online presence. Because for all you know, the ones who were there in the trade fair, before even visiting your booth, they looked you up already. They Googled your company before visiting your booth, and they will Google your company after visiting your booth. Especially the ones really serious to do business with you, they will really look you up in the internet. So use the internet as a powerful tool. Again, it has been called the equalizer kasi everybody has equal access to the internet. It's a matter now of putting up the right image of your company in the internet and then maintaining the right level of customer engagement, and then also maintaining a good amount of yung parang publication, and then by using yung influencers. That's now a trend, and that can be covered in another topic, yung how you use the power of influencers. You use their influences to further market your products and services. The point is, you have to have this very good online presence, very effective online presence. Kasi whether traditional yung trade fair that you attended, or hybrid, or online fair, they will always look you up. So you have to be ready with your good online presence. Otherwise, baka yung interest nila on your products, on your services, will wane or will altogether be shelved because of something that they're not happy about when they looked up your company. So you also highlight yung potential synergies. In the aftermath of the trade fair, you have to study nga. Again, you study. You have to do your assignment also. What will I have to offer this client? Di ba nga, you categorize them as to B2C, business to customer, or B2B, business to business customers. So business to customer or business to business. So whatever type of customer they will turn out to be, you have to do your homework. You have to study. What do I have to offer them? Diba? Ang tawag kasi sa atin as entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers. Bakit yung problem solver? It means that if we can offer a product or a service that will solve a problem, or the other option is bring happiness, bring joy to any customer, then they will be more than happy to part with their money and to engage our services or to purchase our products. So synergy, what do I have to offer this prospective customer? If meron na siyang ibang supplier of the same product that I am producing, or if meron na siyang dating service provider, whether travel agency ba, or logistics provider, what do I have to offer that will convince the customer to go for my product or to go for my services? So you do your assignment, do your homework, and then you present these synergies to the customer. Kasi, diba, no such thing as a unique product or service. But if you offer something that is packaged right, then it becomes very attractive. Diba? No such thing. Kahit nga rocket science, give people out there 2-3 months, it will be copied. It will be imitated to the last detail. Pero yung synergy, it's something that's creative. Like if meron kang simpleng product, again, balik tayo sa honey. Pero meron kang, other than honey, you also present the option to also be providing the same customer other ingredients that they need in their businesses. Then it becomes more than just about selling your honey. So you think about these lines. Kasi diba, now the world is so much smaller compared to before. Diba? People in the other parts of the globe, the other side of the other end of the world, they are just one chat away. So you can imagine ngayon yung potential of doing business anywhere, so long as you meet the, diba? You meet the qualifications, and you can like qualify in terms of the rules of engagement. Like, can you actually bring your products to their places? Three things actually to also remember when you try to study what to do next in the aftermath of a trade fair. Yung first is quality. Do you have the quality that is needed by this customer? Yung product ko ba is enough na? Yung service ko ba is enough na to really serve the customer's need, to really serve the customer's problem? Quality. Yung second is scale, and third is delivery. Yung sa scale, you ask DTI people and they will tell you this has happened a lot. Many business matching has been deemed successful because of deals, because of agreements that were actually forged during the trade fairs or a few days after the trade fairs. Diba may mga trade missions pa minsan ang DTI na kinakonduct, bringing business people to a specific place in the hope of having business deals forged, agreements cemented during the missions. Pero one common problem that was encountered is yung lack of scale of the Philippine businesses. So like say a customer went to your booth, whether online or traditional booth, and said, I like your product. Say you're making these very, very nice bags. You're making these very, very nice bags, and the story behind your bags, like you make them from indigenous materials and you are helping women by giving them jobs in the making of these products. So wow, the customer is really impressed and is really wanting to buy your products. Then the question now is, can you produce 10,000 of these bags every month? And then the sad story ng Philippine MSMEs, sila yung nagbaback out kasi normally nandun yung problem sa scale. No, hindi namin kaya yung ganyan karami. Hanggang 1,000 lang kami a week, so 4,000 a month. Hindi namin kaya yung 10,000 a month. So you have to be ready for that. Like, in case they need scale, are you ready for that? Can you serve their orders? Can you serve their needs? Kasi the thing is, most visitors sa trade fairs, especially yung B2B, they will not really waste time. If you don't have the scale, they will not spend more time talking with you. If you cannot deliver the needed numbers, then they cannot do business with you. Kasi diba, whether they buy 1,000 bags a week or like 4,000 bags a week, or the needed 10,000 bags a week, more or less, they spend the same amount of time placing orders, dealing with you, etc. But they will need scale because scale brings in the profits, the size of profit. Like that's 1,000 profit for like 100 bags versus 1 million profits for 10,000 bags. So you do the math. This same amount of time, this same process, this same purchase order, this same invoice. So get the point. We have to be ready also with the needed scale. And so that's quality, scale, and then next is delivery. If you have an interested buyer, the next question that you will also have to tackle is, how will you send me your goods? So you have to be ready with options. You have to know what logistics service providers to tap or to partner with to serve these clients. And you have to the most cost-efficient way to bring your products to your customers in a way that will not compromise the quality of your products. Kasi yung iba, yes, na-deliver, pero wow, yung tableya, na-deliver nga, pero tunaw naman. So something like that. You have to study these things. So synergy, you have to present these options to your customers, but you cannot just present them without also, again, doing your homework. You present the potential savings and increased competitiveness that your services or your products can bring to the customers. So sa customer savings or happiness nga, di ba? Sa business model canvas map, you bring either happiness, savings, or relieve a pain. So yun yung mga what will make the customers willing to part with their money. So you have to know how you can make them willing to part your money. So kung business man, you have to know how you can make them increase their profitability, increase their revenues, or decrease their costs, or overall contribute to the sustainability of their business. So has to be win-win. It's about that. And you have to know what will make you a win-win partner for your leads. Otherwise, they will not give you a second look. So like, oh no, never mind. So they will just begin to dismiss you. You also have to establish the consistent quality, cost effectiveness, and reliability of your product or service. But before you can do that, you have to really make sure that your operations are taking care of these things. Diba tayo as entrepreneurs, sometimes we focus on one part lang of the company management, mostly marketing or maybe financial lang, and then less on operations. But when you deal with leads na generated by trade fairs, you have to be able to confidently say that we have good products here. We deliver good services here. So before you can even say that, you have to know, diba? You have to walk across your factory, your production sites to know that your people are indeed doing a good job making your products. And these are the things that will make you more confident when you deal with your trade, with your future trade partners, with your future customers. And these can all be generated in the course of your participation during trade fairs. So one thing that will also like boost your credibility as a businessman is if you can name your partners, diba? Like, oh, I am a partner of this company, credible company, a very legitimate company. And if you do business with us, then you will also be partners with this company in a way, because we are all part of the same value chain. So lilinawin mo rin yung delivery time, yung lead time you need para you don't, di ba, hindi ka masisira. You don't mar your good image. Yung credibility mo hindi mawawala. So you take care of these details. All after the potential synergies. Kailangan kasi talagang may synergy para you win the leads that were generated during the trade fair. Kasi nga kung walang lead, hindi lang naman sila maging interested. You will have to keep studying itong mga potential synergies that your company can bring to a specific group of customers. And then the trade fair becomes the venues for looking for these customers. So, di ba, parang pag gano'n naman, it's like you're working things the other way around. But then normally, it comes as a meeting place, the trade fair becoming the meeting place for your leads, and then you working on the leads after the trade fair. So you invite your customers then to visit your production site. That's not possible at this time because of the pandemic. So again, you have to be ready with the information in your Facebook accounts, in your website, just to show the customers at their own time. Imagine if you have the website of your company already providing this information, securing the reliability, consistency of quality of your products by the pictures that you show, by the stories that you tell in your website. So imagine that. So parang non-stop yung trade fair that you are attending, di ba? In a way. Like, tapos na yung trade fair, you are not attending any trade fair anytime soon. Pero non-stop yung pag-generate ng leads because you have your website or your Facebook account. So come to think of it, that is a good way to look at the benefits of digitalization. But always go for synergies. Why will your customer want to buy your product? Why will your customer's business want to do business with your company? What's in it for them? So kailangang win-win, and you have to research on that. Kaya nga at this point, talking of win-win, we have to also take a good look at yung pitfalls of marketing myopia. Itong marketing myopia, ito yung something that most exhibitors are guilty of. So pag guilty ka of marketing myopia, when you go to Manila, like if you're from the region, you go to Manila, like, di ba minsan yung annual trade fairs ng mga regions, and mostly held dito sa SM Mega Mall, di ba? Like, one time, Mimaropa region, ako, ang gaganda, yung mga pearls ng Puerto Princesa, El Nido, nandun sa SM Mega Mall. Yung mga cashew nut products nila naka-display doon. So pag guilty ka of marketing myopia and you're participating in a trade fair, yung one goal that you have is to just sell lahat ng products na dinala mo sa Manila. So say, attend ka ng 5-day trade fair dito sa Mega Mall. And then you are bringing to Manila, say, 1 million worth of goods for the 5-day trade fair. So pag meron kang marketing myopia, yung mindset mo will be, kailangan pag-uwi ko sa Puerto Princesa, wala na akong dalang products dahil lahat nag-giveaway ko na. Mostly as sales. And then, syempre, siguro may konting nag-giveaway as samples, but majority of the products will be sold. So, halimbawa, 1 million worth of products, siguro ita-target ko na at least 800,000. Dala ko na, bayad na, whether in cash or via the credit card, dapat sold. So that is marketing myopia. Ano ba yung myopia? Di ba myopia yung nearsighted? Ito nga yung nasa picture ko, yung hindi makakita pag malayo kasi kailangan ganun. Anong problema pag meron kang marketing myopia? Pag you have marketing myopia, you tend to focus on selling. Ano ba yung selling? Selling is just converting your products or services into money, into cold cash, into sales. Pero business gurus say that is wrong. Mali yun. So dapat you have to think long term. So hindi dapat myopic, nearsighted, dapat farsighted ka. So by farsighted, you have to think of long-term plans with a customer. So it's not just about kailangang mabenta ko tong aking napakasarap na cake dito sa customer na to. It should be long-term. How can I have this customer as a suki for life? So do not be guilty of marketing myopia. And you think of that when you deal with your customers during the trade fair days. In the next days, send them emails that are not really meant to like really push for sales agad. Kasi sometimes, di ba, we know it pag masyadong pushy. Yung tawag na hard sell, di ba? Like, especially in malls before the pandemic, ang daming hard sellers, yung parang halos pipilitin ka na to go to their stores and then to really buy their products. Management gurus, they say that does not work. What works better is yung going for long-term relationships with your customers. So they will keep going back to you. Di ba, pag naging problem solver ka na ng mga customers, pati yung mga hindi mo na products talaga, they refer to you na, oh, so ano, what does that make you? Pwede ka nang maging parang, it will actually open more opportunities for you. I'm not saying that you all parang lose your focus on your products and services and like consider doing business in anything that customers will bring up. I'm just saying that there is a way to link your products and services to other things. It's a way of having this growth mindset, di ba? Kasi sometimes customers' problems can be linked lagi sa whatever we have. Kasi after all, it's the same supply chain. It's the same community. It's the same if malayo. It's the same business. It's the same business world. So there will always be ways. So focus on not just selling, but more importantly, sa marketing. Yung marketing is win-win. Marketing means babalik at babalik yung inyong customer even after niya nabili na yung goods mo. So di ba? Pag you're just after selling, then mission accomplished ka na nung natanggap mo yung bayad ng customer. And na-close mo na yung first sale mo with a customer who visited your trade fair booth. Pero if hindi ka myopic, if you are far-sighted, then ang target mo will be having this lead, this customer as a long-term customer. Kung pwede, di ba, customer life. So yan yung target. Think of the big picture, identify win-win options. So hindi pwedeng ikaw lang yung winning na like, basta benta kong aking mga food products na napakasarap. So kailangan din, you have to know kung ano yung win that you are giving them. And you have to let them know kung ano yung mga benefits that your products are giving them, kung ano yung benefits that doing business with you will give them. Hindi lang like you tell them that, but you actually make them feel it. You actually give them the chance to appreciate it. So that is long-term relationships. And that is marketing in its essence. Hindi siya selling. So not focusing on your products and services, but instead focusing on the needs of your customers. So you can only do that by, again, doing some research on your customers. Yung mga na-generate na business leads during the trade fairs. You research on, di ba, nandiyan naman sa kanilang business cards. Well, back during the traditional trade fairs, yung mga business cards, makita mo agad yung companies, yung company logos, yung position ng visitor mo. But now, it's more of like email addresses lang kasi ngayon, online yung trade fairs. Then you can just start by sending the first email, but having in mind that it's not just about selling, it's also about having relationships with your customers. But then again, papasok yung mga finance people who will advise you to put a lid on your pursuit of leads. Put a lid, diba? Meaning set a limit, set a budget, how much time, how much money, etc. are you gonna spend pursuing each lead? So again, wala talagang hard and fast rules. Some companies, especially those that sell high value goods and services, like big contracts or like expensive equipments, they can pursue a customer for as long as half a year and not give up. But then if like you're talking of low-cost products and products that are easily substituted, products with many alternatives, then a shorter time we'll be able to tell you if the customer will be your customer or not. So like within a month or two, if not responsive to your efforts to follow up, not responsive to your emails, to your texts, then you know na it's not a lead that will actually bring you some business transactions. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yung trade fairs kasi, you should always look at it as a winning way to grow your business. Even if wala kang sale na na-generate, the fact that you attend a trade fair, the fact that you met so many people, the fact that you met some competitors mo, and then other stakeholders from the same sector, di ba? Pag food trade fair, you get to meet would-be suppliers mo, would-be customers mo. Even if you don't really get to have all your visitors sa trade fair booth mo as customers, yung trade fair experience should be still worth the expenses that you may have incurred. Or thankfully, kung online na yung trade fair, less na yung actual expenses incurred. So more on time, more on the time as a resource that was spent on the online trade fair. And then the time you spent working on your paraphernalias, on your presentation materials, on your giveaways, your company file. These are things that will all make you better entrepreneurs, better businessmen. So no such thing as a bad trade fair, if you ask me. Because even if you generated no sale during a specific trade fair, still you would have been able to generate ideas on how to improve your products. Still, meron kang nakitang ginagawa pala ng producers of similar products that will give you ideas on how to improve your own products, how to make your cake more masarap, how to package it in a more attractive way. Makikita mo, mamimit mo yung would-be supplier mo of packaging materials, di ba? Or would-be partner mo sa logistics. So even if yung leads do not generate an actual sale, it is still not a wasted endeavor, yung taking part in trade fairs. So all part of not being myopic, di ba? If you have that mindset, then you will keep growing. Again, if myopic ka and you went to Manila or other parts of the country or outside the Philippines, na myopic nga, kailangan ganito yung business deals ko na ma-close. 1 million pesos, 10 million pesos. Depende on what products or services you sell or provide. If ganun yung mindset mo and you come home with the target not really hit, then you might end up just feeling bad. And that is no good for you. Kasi as entrepreneurs, di ba, resilient, optimistic, di ba? So hindi pwede, walang room for being down just because you generated no business lead. That's not a good reason for being down. So do not have this marketing myopia. Think big. So every process forms part of your growth. Every trade fair forms part of the growth of your enterprise. Somehow, kasama yung enterprise mo in that trade fair. That's visibility na na-boost. Somehow, may mga maka-remember ng store mo, ng company mo dahil nakita ka in that trade fair. Whether virtual yung trade fair or the traditional trade fair. So wala siya. It can never be a waste of time or effort attending trade fairs. And you will have that way of seeing it if you have this way of not being guilty of marketing myopia. So again, do not be guilty of marketing myopia. Selling versus marketing, go for marketing. Because marketing means longer relationships and returning customers, di ba? Kasi hindi ka lang nag-sell na one time, you got money, give you product. Instead, you win a friend, you win a suki customer, or better, you win a business contract, di ba? Bigger orders, sustainable, repeat orders. Next is to nurture relationships and avoid prioritizing profits over customers' satisfaction. So again, this is part of thinking long-term. Customer first. Be a customer-focused company. So after the trade fair, when you look at the leads generated, yung mga calling cards, again, mga emails na na-provide, yung mindset mo should be directed towards how can I help these people? What problems do they have that I can solve? Kasi chances are, they have been working on the same problems. And if your problem solving method turns out to be better than their current one, then you can get them as customers. If may problema sila sa daily food supply sa kanilang cafeteria, and you happen to have the better products at the better prices, so then you have a customer. If hindi sila happy with their like travel agency and they are happy with what you have to offer, kasi nga again, yung offering mo ng terms are like hinged on this long-term view, long-term relationship with the customer, then you will win this customer. So just avoid short-term outlooks, short-term projections, and always go for long-term. Di ba nga, it's all about sustainability. Take a good look at how companies always emphasize sustainability. It's not even profitability that they emphasize. It's really sustainability. Kasi profit, it comes, it goes. Like during this pandemic, most big companies are incurring losses, but that's okay. They're still sustainable. Why? Kasi they have this long-term view. This pandemic is here, but my company will adapt to it. So while loss kami 2020 and maybe loss pa rin ng 2021, by 2022, naka-adapt na yung operations ko, yung people ko naka-adapt na, and we will finally be in the green side na, so profit na again. But long-term look will make you concerned not with the annual profit or losses of your company. The long-term outlook will make you concerned with sustainability. So how will you keep your company growing? Or kahit na, yes, of course, companies cannot keep growing kasi after a time, di ba, mag-plateau. That's why companies always look for new things to do. Because like pag na-saturate na nila ang market for a given product, magpa-plateau na yung growth. Then they need to do other things. Or think of San Miguel, one of the most successful Philippine companies. San Miguel, PLDT. When reach na nila yung success in a specific sector, they look for other sectors to excel in. Kasi nga, kailangang sustainability ang target. Long-term outlook ang kailangan mo rin to achieve sustainability. So, hindi short-term. So, go for long-term relationships with your customers. Hindi yung one-time sales. So, again, yung favorite example ko, pag pumunta si entrepreneur from Mimaropa bringing 1 million worth of pearls. Ang daming pearls nun. So yung target niya should not be just bringing home 1 million pesos, but instead bringing home lessons, bringing home more contacts, bringing home like prospective customers. Those are the things that matter more, not yung actual sale. The next slide is itong case study. So yung itong case study that I will present is itong story ni Miss Ann Pamintuan. So I purposely chose to present a case study of an enterprise that is not in the food sector. Miss Ann Pamintuan is a maker of handicrafts, then jewelries, and then ganito, furniture made from materials that include yung mga leaves ng plants and trees, and then yung mga flowers. She would dip them in gold, in silver, and they become beautiful house decors. And then yung mga leaves, she would dip them in gold or silver, and they become very, very nice earrings and rings, etc. And she's also famous for yung kanyang mga furniture, like this one. Si Brad Pitt, the actor, the Hollywood actor, is known to be one of her customers din. Ang story ni Miss Ann Pamintuan is a story of resilience. I personally knew her. We're both from Davao. And I have seen how she attended trade fairs left and right through the years. And then she started with not really being known, of course, because that's where you start. She's just respected as an artist, and she does her small portfolio of products. But she kept attending trade fairs left and right. Then may mga trade missions, she would never pass them up. And then whenever there are trade fairs, she would get orders, but not all the orders would turn out to be actual orders. So hindi lahat ng nag-o-orders during trade fairs will actually send you purchase orders and will actually buy your product. So minsan may orders placed during the trade fair na hindi natutuloy. In the days that follow, they cancel, etc. And this entrepreneur has gone through all that. Pero she never lost hope. She just kept on working on her products. She just kept on generating new ideas for her products. And she kept on going, attending trade fairs, business matching. She never missed any. Yun yung point. Whether local trade fair and then later international trade fairs in Europe, Middle East, in America, Australia, she always brought some of her things, and then she was always ready with her catalogs for the other things that she was doing, other products that she had to offer. And then came the time when parang, di ba, parang na-reach na yung tipping point. Ganun lang yun eh. So, matter of going up, and then meeting more people, learning more lessons based on the inputs provided, based on the questions asked during the trade fair, yung mga questions, especially ng mga environmentalists, like how will you be able to prove that the materials that you are using do not go against the environmental rules of, say, like Europe, they have very strict rules. So through time, si Miss Anne had learned to like produce products that are in consonance with the environmental thrusts of markets like the European market. They're key environment. Di ba nandun yung mga carbon footprints pa ng British, ng UK. Like kailangang negative carbon footprints you have to make up by doing something good for the environment. So things like that. The point is, the entire travel from one trade fair to another became a learning experience for Miss Anne. And through the inputs, exchanges, the wealth of information, the wealth of experiences generated by attending trade fairs, local and foreign, Miss Anne Pamintuan is now well known. She's world acknowledged. Anong tawag dyan? Globally acknowledged as a great artist with creations like this. So now she gets orders from Europe, America, Australia, and her enterprise has grown. Dati maliit lang yung kanyang production site, and now it is much bigger. But question is, how did she get there? If you ask her and if you know her story, the trade fairs had a lot to do with her growth as an entrepreneur. Kasi after all, if you will just have your store, there will only be so much visitors to your store. Even if you have a website, online presence, and you have really worked on it, you have hired web designers to make sure that your website is interesting and it answers all the possible questions. It sets your company as environment friendly, as a good contributor to community, you know, all the good things that are favorable in the eyes of investors or customers, both domestic and local. Even if you have all that, you can only reach so much people. The trade fairs really bring in sort of a different level of doing business. Because ito, are the venues where you get to meet people who are both interested talaga in buying and then not interested in buying. So the point is, Miss Ann Pamintuan has met them all. So may mga kwento siya na long conversations with artists then like her and then ending up with zero sales. But then she would prefer to look at the sales that generated the revenues. So you can never tell, like when you are attending a trade fair, you will never know when etong kausap mo ngayon will actually lead to a sale or if like it will like turn out to be just a conversation and will not really lead to a sale. But that aside, the way to look at each customer is that viewpoint, that win-win viewpoint, avoiding marketing myopia. You should never focus on just selling your products and services. Focus on learning as much as you can. So through time, si Miss Ann Pamintuan has like enlarged her portfolio. Ang dami na niyang materials based on suggestions that she got from talking with all these visitors ng kanyang booth. Oh, why not try this material for this set of jewelries or for this set of furniture? And all those ideas were put to good use. And then, of course, she also did her research kasi you also have to do your homework. So it's not just about generating inputs and acting agad on them, di ba? You also have to do your homework. And that's what Miss Ann Pamintuan is doing. I like to present the story actually because she's a showcase of, she's actually a product of trade fairs and she will never deny that. So she's got the assistance of various government agencies. So of course, DTI, Trade Fair left and right, and then CITEM for the design, other agencies that I may not have in mind right now. But she professes to have never gone to where she is now without the help of the government agencies. So the fact that you are all here attending this seminar, or I mean this webinar, this 3-day webinar from yesterday to Friday, 4-day webinar, means you are conscious of the benefits of knowing what government programs are there or what government programs are available for you to tap. So the fact that you are here means you also look to the government as a partner for the growth of your enterprises. So yung advice ko is for you to research further. Ano pang agencies ang pwede kong lapitan? Kung nasa food products yung iba, maybe yung raw materials na agri-based yung ginagamit, like based cacao, coffee, etc. Maybe can also benefit from programs ng DA, etc. DA, DAR, and then those participants na kailangan pa ng assistance sa packaging, etc. should also study the programs of DOST, etc. But trade fairs is program talaga ng DTI. And we have many businesses that have really largely benefited from attending trade fairs. So si Miss Ann Pamintuan, she learned from all that year in, year out. Like there is never a quarter down now when she was not preparing for a trade fair. So pagtapos ng trade fair, she looks forward to the next trade fair. Nasa calendar niya lahat ng trade fairs. And because of that, marami siyang na-generate na leads. And while not all the leads turned out to be actual sales, actual transactions, they were part of her growth. So in closing, before we do our Q&A, I will always encourage participation in trade fairs. So the preparation for trade fairs is crucial, of course, kasi it makes yung success or failure, whatever failure or success means, it actually is hinged on how you prepared for each trade fair. Yung products that you bring, yung mga collaterals that you bring will have a lot of bearing on the actual results ng trade fair. Yung actual trade fair also very crucial kasi, di ba, That's when you actually do your sales. That's when you meet the customers. That's when you generate the sales. But then again, I would say that the post-trade fair is even more important. Kasi yun yung henceforth. Ito na yung lessons learned. This is the point where you look back to the trade fair days and you take stock of all that you have learned. You take stock of the leads. Some of them will be like real good leads and some of them are not so much good. But all that, there will always be something good for you in each trade fair. Yung lessons pa lang, yung experience. Kasi hindi siya something that you can measure on a trade fair basis. But then looking back, you take one step back, di ba? Avoid marketing myopia and take the far-sighted look, take the long-term outlook. And you will know that attending all these trade fairs will really have a bearing on your business. It will, for one, it will make you more confident kasi you meet so many. This is true even if the next trade fairs will mostly turn out to be online trade fairs. It is true. Like we are doing this training online and I got to listen to other trainers do their trainings online. Everything is now done online, and even conducting trade fairs, participating in trade fairs will just have to be done online. I would advise you to learn yung how-tos on the actual trade fair participation. I am personally not well versed on that. Yung how you set up your booths, how you make your booth attractive, how to make your booth stand out. So these are things you'll have to learn. And then more importantly, you take stock of all that kasi all that is part of your journey as entrepreneurs. And each trade fair that you participate, I tell you, will have a contribution in your growth as entrepreneurs. So I'll end my presentation here and I look forward to getting questions, feedback, and anything or any shared story from the participants.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Renea, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. I'll just give a quick summary of what you discussed. So we learned from your talk that it is important to gather information on the leads, and there is a need to use the right channels, and the trade fair exhibitors need to reach out within 2 days to good potential customers after the trade fair. And another very important thing is for enterprises need to boost their online or internet presence. Okay, so now I'm sure our participants would love to learn more, so I will now open the floor for the question and answer. Okay, we have here to start the ball rolling. I will give these 2 questions. For the first question, what is the best technique to follow up on my business leads from inquiries I gathered from the trade fair?
Ayun, Carrie, as explained earlier, no hard and fast rule on that kasi depende siya. Number one, where are you located? Where is this lead located? If like within the same city, then maybe the best way is to just visit the place of your lead. If malayo, then you might have to like do it through emails. Right now, the rule of thumb is to always correspondence, business correspondence through emails. That is now the accepted way of doing business. Not chat, not text, and not calls. Like, diba, a lot of people, especially those who like really value their privacy, would not appreciate it if you just call from out of the blue. They might even just end up rejecting your calls and you'll end up feeling bad. So as a rule of thumb, the emails are always the first. Pero again, hindi siya hard and fast rule. Kasi pag millennial nga naman, chat lang, okay na. So, tatantyahin ninyo based on who your customer is. Kasi 'di ba, isa rin 'yan sa rules na after the trade fair, 'di ba nga, you study your leads. How old is this guy? anong generation. Kasi ibang generation, ibang approach. Di ba? Pag Gen Z, nako, pag email baka hindi papansinin. Pero pag chat sa FB Messenger, mas mapapansin. Oh. Pero pag baby boomer, nako, baka hindi man lang yung nag-check ng Messenger sa Facebook. So kailangan emails or text and then a phone call. You find out if they have if you can get the numbers of their assistants or their staff, then you connect through them. That would be the polite way of also doing it. And then when you connect with them, do not sell right away. Yung rule of thumb is to first at least thank them for visiting your booth, and you tell them how happy you are that you have met them. You know, you show appreciation before you get straight to selling. Para hindi yung kinukwento ko kanina ng hard sell. Kasi pag hard sell, chances are atras yung customer mo. Ano ba to, masyadong pushy, like so into selling agad. So do not be too engaged in hard sell. So yun are things, rule of thumb, email, but then you study yung customer. Kasi different folks, different strokes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Renea, for your answer. Well said. Na dapat talaga yung approach mo, tatansyahin mo dun sa personality rin ng iyong customer. Pero basically, it boils down na dapat official ang dating ng iyong pagsagot through email. And then siguro pwede mo nga i-supplement siya ng pwedeng mag-Viber ka, ganyan, when you are able to get their number. Ayan. And now we proceed to the next question. How can I determine when a business lead or product inquiry is authentic from a trade fair I joined?
Actually, Carrie, you cannot judge. Kasi sometimes somebody na seeming to be not serious turns out to be serious pala. Kasi di ba, there's more than meets the eye. Sometimes, minsan like well-dressed and all, and then asking so many good questions, interesting topics din yung na-bring up niya in your discussions during the trade fair. Pero in the aftermath, you don't get any response now from your follow-up emails, etc. So, yung identifying sino yung authentic at sino yung hindi, it's not something that you will get just like that. It's something that you will just be able to gather in the course of the post-trade fair communication. Like, if responsive naman sa'yo, and then humingi ka ng information, then you give the information provided, and then you improve pa all the inputs that you have submitted. Yun nga, yung mga win-wins that you have to highlight. But then if after doing all that and napapansin mong lukewarm na yung attention sa'yo and less na yung pagiging responsive, then that's a way for you to know na rin. That's the cue that you have to take na you spend less of your time and resources. Di ba nga yung suggestion pa kanina na you set a budget for the follow-ups. Kasi you cannot devote like 1 year following up a lead na will not get anywhere. But then again, it depends also on your products. Kasi some products will really require, like if you're selling a condominium, if you're selling condominium units, then it's but natural na even 3 months, 6 months after the first time you met your customers during the trade fair, it's but okay to keep following up pa rin. But then if you're selling like low cost items that have lots of substitutes in the markets and are readily available, and they are not really so responsive to your emails, to your follow-ups, then that's your cue that it's time to not anymore pursue so aggressively. Then maybe just wait for them to get back to you, and maybe in time they will be the ones actually calling you to place their order.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your advice, Ms. Renea. I'll just read a comment here from Ms. Everlyn Gicana. Kasi yung kanyang company or where she belongs, and which is Alvers, sabi niya, they joined last 2019 sa Metro Fiesta Trade Fair. And it's one of the best experience for our company, she said. Yun nga, based nga dun sa nasabi mo, talagang ang pagsali sa trade fair ay win-win undertaking.
Yes, whether may sale or wala,
Mhm.
it's always a win-win.
Yes.
We base this again from the stories of successful businesses. And then yung example that I cited, si Miss Anne from Mintuan. If you ask her, countless na, kasi nga she's been there for decades. She started like 30 years ago. And she would tell you countless na yung mga trade fairs that she has attended. Ang dami na niyang countries. Every year nasa Germany siya kasi meron talagang furniture expo in Germany. She attends every year. And she really allots budgets for that. And sometimes may sale, sometimes wala. But if you ask her, she will not miss any of those trade fairs. Again, because it does not mean that each trade fair should always bring in the equivalent revenues. Hindi siya ganun eh. Sometimes it's like a trade fair that you attended months ago that will somehow bring to the present a customer who met somebody who met you during a trade fair. It works like that. It's really dynamic. So experience is the key. Experience, visibility, and then exposure. That's what trade fairs bring in. That will never be like what? Quantifiable in terms of money. Kasi that's value, that's intangible. Experience, yung goodwill, like etong company na to always attends and always discusses the things that they do for the community. Somehow, lahat yan eh. Lahat may contribution. Diba? After all, companies, look at San Miguel, it took decades to get where they are now. It took decades for San Miguel to set up the image that they now enjoy. So something like that. You also, as entrepreneurs, we work on our images every day. What we do, what we say actually reflect yung culture of our company. And yung attendance sa trade fairs is a way to show the world etong ating face, etong ating culture, products, services, and including people. Actually, when you attend trade fairs, you actually showcase the people. Anong klaseng demeanor meron yung mga tao watching your stall, your exhibit sites. Ano yung kanilang disposition? Ano yung kanilang culture? It also says a lot about your company. And etong trade fairs will provide a venues for showing that to the company, whether traditional trade fair or itong mga online trade fairs that I hope all of you will be attending in the coming months kasi it is the way to go. I advise nga yung mga hindi pa masyadong techie to really learn it kasi you cannot say sa kanila ako mag-trade fair pag tapos na yung pandemic kasi ang alam ko lang na trade fair talaga is yung traditional, yung nandun ako sa booth, may mga staff ako sa booth and they will answer questions and give out pamphlets namin and calling cards. If ganun yung mindset mo, wow, you will be really missing out a lot. Kasi the new normal, they say, is here to stay. Sabi nga kanina ni Miss Carrie, may traditional trade fair, may online trade fair, pero yung uso na talaga ngayon is hybrid. So meaning, combination na siya ng online and traditional. And I believe it will be more of that na. Hindi na mawawala. Even if possible na again, like maybe next year or 2024, 2023, even if possible na uli ang traditional trade fair, I believe yung online part of each traditional trade fair will always be part of it na. So it will always be hybrid na. Kasi na-enjoy na natin ang benefits of doing things online. Di ba nga, yung digitalization, it's the way to go. The internet as the equalizer, yung the same opportunities, the same market na na-access ng mga conglomerates around the world with their websites are the same market din that you can access if meron kang magandang website. Yung making money in your sleep, di ba? Lahat yan, equal opportunities. Kaya the internet is the equalizer. So ganun din sa trade fair. You can imagine, pag nandyan na rin yung online part of trade fair, kahit nandyan yung traditional, nandyan yung online. So pag hybrid, yung traditional part is limited to the people who are actually there sa trade fair. But meanwhile, there also are people from around the globe checking out your store, checking out your stall during the exhibit. Kasi sila yung mga attendants, mga participants ng online part of the hybrid trade fair. So I would advise you to never miss on that. Kasi we now live in this digitalized world. So digitalization is the only way to go. We have seen enough, di ba? Sino yung companies that are thriving now, that actually have prospered? Nag-multiply pa ang income because of the pandemic. These are the IT-ready companies. Yung mga meron ng online stores, yung mga service providers na meron ding way to reach their clients through the internet. Sila yung nag-thrive. So while iba nag-incur ng losses last year and then maybe this year pa rin, these companies were internet ready. They were like reaping the fruits. Sila yung nag-grow. Si Shopee, Lazada, they're saying like, tenfold. So parang boon for them ang pandemic. But then even before the pandemic happened, actually, DTI and other organizations, PTTC, DTI, they were all already pushing for digitalization. So the same is true with trade fairs. You have to be ready to attend digitalized trade fairs. It's the way to go. So sayang kung dun ka lang talaga sa traditional trade fair when yung online trade fairs mo will bring your products and services to all parts of the world. Anybody wanting to click your site during trade fairs. So yes, that's it, Kari.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Renea. So that's good to hear kasi talagang napaaga lang yung dapat pag go in online selling ng ating mga entrepreneurs. Kasi sabi mo nga, it is the great equalizer. Kumbaga ay nale-level talaga yung playing field for all types of entrepreneurs. So at least yung mga startup, yung mga small entrepreneurs, may chance na rin sila talaga na maka-access sa international markets through the online trade fair or virtual trade fair. So ito Ms. Renea, merong isang follow-up question based sa second question natin. This is coming from the Zoom chat box from Ms. Eleanor Olegario. She said, for client verification, especially export clients, this is when they meet during the trade fairs. Does DTI extend assistance in validating client authenticity? Or if the company does exist, kasi di ba ang daming nami-meet ng mga companies hindi mo maalaman kung totoo ba to, kung stable, or baka naman fly-by-night lang yung buyer na yon. Meron kayang service ang DTI na ine-extend para ma-validate yung authenticity ng client or ng company?
Oh, I cannot speak for DTI, Ms. Kari, but DTI is there to facilitate businesses. It's their mandate to assist micro, small, medium, and large enterprises. So it won't hurt, and I would really advise you to really go to DTI or maybe go to the negosyo centers nearby, the nearest negosyo center. All LGUs now have negosyo centers, and get help. If DTI should not be able to help you all the way, somehow they will still exert effort because again, they will help. Maybe we have participants, Ms. Kari from DTI, who can answer the question.
Yeah, if they'd like to ask. We have here participants from DTI Zambales, DTI Quezon, and DTI Region 10, and DTI Bataan. The floor is open if you would like to share your experience regarding this po. You can open your microphone and share your thoughts regarding this question. Ayan, pero pwede ko ring i-share sa iyo, Renea. Dati kasi nung nasa PITC ako, Philippine International Trading Corporation, nagbi-business match din kami. So we made sure ito naman on the on the buyer side, we made sure na yung ibibigay namin dun sa foreign client namin, kami yung taga-check. So iniline up namin, since PITC is a government corporation, I do the checking kung ito ay authentic, kung registered sa BOI and registered sa DTI, sa kumbaga, and also kung corporation naman siya, kung registered siya sa SEC. So yun. Yan.
And if I may, actually, I'm
Sige.
not from DTI, but I also know that ang DTI kasi, the participant, Carrie, was referring to foreign prospects, no? Not from
Not that, oo, for export.
So, I would suggest that again, you approach DTI kasi DTI has offices all over the world.
Yes.
Diba, Miss Carrie?
Yes.
Meron tayong trade attaches sa lahat ng embassies of the Philippines around the world. So, yun yung pwede rin nilang matap ng assistance. So like, you approach your local negosyo center or local DTI office kung anong region or province man ikaw located, and they can tap the assistance next. In their part, they will, diba, sa international group, right? Carry International Trade Group. So they can get the help ng concerned trade attaché kung asan man yung country that your business prospect is from. That trade attaché can actually help kasi siya yung nandun mismo sa lugar or sa country where your business prospect is from. So,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I agree with you, Miss Renea, kasi sila yung, kumbaga yung term natin, sila yung nagmo-market intelligence sa per country kung saan sila naka-assign. Ayan. Ito, Miss Renea, ito medyo maganda tong question ito kasi ito siya, coming from Miss Erlinda. This is from the chat box. From Miss Erlinda Okba. Sabi niya, is it right or possible to join National Food Fair to promote products that are still in the stage of completing the final layout label? Like for example, yung nutrition facts niya, CPR from FDA, barcode, etc. Which turned to be a medyo big investment nga daw sa kanila. And they sell in bulk packaging. That means the products are tested already. It's only now that we intend to have our own label and packaging in retail pouches. So in short, pwede na ba siyang mag-join ng trade fair kahit na kumbaga nasa pa lang, dine-develop pa lang yung packaging niya for the product na i-showcase niya sa trade
Miss
fair?
Erlinda, if DTI will allow it, my answer is yes. Kasi again, even if your products are not yet ready, you can have opportunities to meet would-be buyers during the trade fair. And then baka dun mo rin ma-meet yung mga partners mo sa pag-finalize ng iyong packaging. Kasi di ba yung nag-a-attend ng trade fairs are not all selling their food products Yung mga food trade fairs also invite yung mga providers ng services, logistics, and then packaging material providers and makers. Kasama yan sila sa may mga booth. Or kung wala man silang booth, for sure, kasama sila sa mga pumupunta sa mga booths, marketing their products, o meron na ba kayong packaging materials? If meron na, ito yung sa amin, which might be even better. Because these are marketing people and they will still want to look for more clients. And the trade fair, again, is the venue where they get these new clients. And then I would advise you to not take too long with the FDA accreditation and all. Kasi sayang din, Miss Erlinda, if meron na rin talagang nasarapan sa product mo, sa taste test, and then pag sinabi nilang they want to buy and then you're not ready to sell pa pala dahil wala ka pang final layout or wala ka pang FDA. Yung FDA, Miss Erlinda, it's very crucial if you want to export your products kasi yun yung way for your products to be like given the pass, di ba? Yung FDA natin kasi it's already recognized by at least sa ASEAN, di ba? Kaya nga at least sa ASEAN na agreement, pwede na tayong mag-export dun sa 9 ASEAN countries other than the Philippines, di ba? 10 ASEAN countries. So kahit dyan, you can start exporting with just your FDA. accreditation. So yun, yung advice ko is to yes, attend kahit hindi pa ready. Kasi wala namang mawawala, but you have a lot to gain, di ba? Nothing to lose and a lot to gain by attending trade fairs.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Renea, for that very good advice. Ayan. Yung pong mga nasa Facebook natin, pwede rin po kayong mag-post ng questions or comments. Mababasa ko po ito, babasahin ko kung pag naglagay po kayo dito. Ngayon, meron pang isang question, maganda rin ito, coming from the chat box. Ito, thank you for, syempre, comment muna tayo. Thank you for your good presentation and discussion. Ayan. Ang pinaka-question niya ay, sabi niya, we are only starting our domestic lines. We would like to know po if anong mas okay to focus muna on one product line or maintaining that wide range of products. This came from Miss Cherish Torado. Ayan.
Actually, Miss Charis, again, walang hard and fast answer for your question. Kasi depende sa which hat is worn by the one answering. If I wear my hat as a financial consultant, I will tell you to focus on the product na may promise na talagang maganda yung prospect and already doing well. Kasi we have limited resources in terms of time, in terms of working capital. And if you think of the amount that you will need to further develop other products just for the sake of being able to offer variety, then it can actually make no sense. Like, especially if you have to borrow pa just to continue producing products that are not that marketable, that will make no sense. So from the marketing viewpoint, obviously, yung advice is to focus on your strong product. So focus on your marketable product, yung winner, di ba? Kasi yun yung hahanapan mo ng additional markets, hahanapan mo ng additional capacity to produce. So yung capital mo might as well be poured into the production of this same marketable or successful product. But then if I wear naman my marketing hat, I would say you also keep trying to offer new products kasi there will always be new products that will be discovered. And it does not mean na dahil may isa kang successful product, you cannot come up with another successful product, di ba? Think of Del Monte. They have so many successful products. So they do not just zero in one product, but they have many. So pag marketing outlook naman, the more products that you can successfully produce and design and market, the better. Kasi marketers will always go for variety. Yung sabi nilang pang bring in ng crowd. Kasi meron kang products dapat na malaki yung profitability ratio, tapos may mga products ka naman na maliit lang. You know what I'm talking about, di ba? Take for example yung mga milk tea makers natin ngayon, based on data gathered, some milk tea makers make just less than 10 pesos daw per serving. Pero ba't nila kino-continue serving it in their stores? Ang sagot nila dahil because they have the milk tea na mura, kahit 10 pesos lang daw yung kita per serving ng milk tea, nabebenta na rin nila yung other offerings nila in their store, yung kanilang cakes, yung kanilang pizza, yung sandwiches. So parang pang-come on lang pala yung kanilang milk tea na maliit lang yung profit rate. So kung marketing viewpoint, that will be the advice. Pero now, again, back to financial consultant hat. Now is the time to be really prudent with your capital. Kasi we have seen that banks now are less eager to lend capital sa mga entrepreneurs. Kasi syempre, nag-iingat ang banks. Some banks nga would rather pay fines rather than meet the required. Di ba, Ms. Carrie? Meron kasi required percentage ang banks that are supposed to be lent out to micro and small enterprises. Some banks end up being willing to pay penalties rather than lend out to micro and small enterprises that might turn out to be risky borrowers. So now cash is kind of scarce. So with that in mind, yung focus should be on successful products. So just keep these advices in check, and then go for what you think is right and is best for your business. Because after all, you know it best. Yung business mo is diba? It's your baby. So you would know what's the best thing to do. Then keep in mind these viewpoints that I have offered.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Renea, for giving that advice. I-consider mo financial aspect kung yun ang strategy mo, or may marketing focus ko anong product lines. Pero bottom line, kailangan may prudence ka rin dyan. Lalo na sa panahon ngayon na taghirap at yun nga, scarce ang cash natin ngayon, cash status. So ito po, meron ng galing kay medyo hawig din sa nakaraang tanong, kaya lang maganda to na matanong ko na rin. Coming from Facebook Live. Ito, coming from Mr. Ralph Balasuela. Sabi niya, I have a product, yung Adlay rice, in a vacuum pouch. So gusto ko sana ma-improve ang aking packaging. Pwede rin ba akong makasali sa trade fair? So yan, follow through na rin ang question. Kumbaga, variation ng kanina na tanong natin.
Oo, bakit hindi? It's a matter of going to your DTI. Anong province kayo, ma'am, sir?
Nasa Facebook siya.
Oh. So actually, it's a matter of going to the nearest provincial or regional office ng DTI and then asking about the next trade fair. For now, chances are yung next trade fair will be an online trade fair. And then ask how you can participate. You present your product, you present your business registration, o diba? There's no reason why you cannot join. Yun na nga, even if hindi pa talaga readily marketable yung products, the wealth of information, contacts for future business transactions that you will be able to gather, attend trade fairs, should be enough reason for you to attend. Kahit yun nga, wala ka munang sale during the trade fair dahil like you said, hindi pa ready yung product mo. But mas magiging probable, mas magiging sooner yung iyong next sale because you will attend that trade fair. Looking back, that's how you will see it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Renea. Singit ko lang, si Mr. Ralph Balasuela, yung sinagot natin na question, ay taga Bukidnon. Sabi niya, from Bukidnon po.
Ayun, so sa DTI Caraga, you approach DTI Caraga and ask DTI Caraga about their next trade fair, which again, will chances are be an online trade fair. Di ba, Ms. Carrie?
Yes.
Most probably until next year, online trade fairs muna tayo.
Okay, so I guess that will be our last question kasi we're running out